If you happen to be travelling around the UK's railways in the 1960s and 70s, you might have, just for a second, caught a glimpse of a secret train. While this carriage, poking out the shed at Tunbridge Wells West, might not look like much, it was actually part of a shadow fleet. Made up of the so-called emergency control trains, this was the UK's government and British Railways' secret and notably low-cost solution for a post-nuclear scenario. Across the world during the 1950s, the so-called Cold War was heating up, with governments of the day having to plan for a possible nuclear attack on their country. Within Great Britain, the government had planned emergency measures for how the nation's railways would carry on running post-attack, supplying coal and raw materials along with possible movements of troops across the country. These initial plans were first drawn up in the early 1950s. However, it wouldn't be until the early 1960s that the government finally gave the Ministry of Transport the money they needed for the plans to take form. As part of these plans, hardened command centres with secure communication networks would be built in key locations across the UK. In a forward-thinking move, it was also planned for mobile control trains to be positioned in secure locations, ready to move at a moment's notice if the unthinkable were to happen. As a nationalised industry, British Railways was legally required to take part in this planning. The plan mandated the creation of 12 trains, 2 allocated to each of the 6 British rail regions. At a cost of approximately £40,000, or just over £750 a day per train, these were not self-propelled units, but unpowered rakes of carriages. Starting off, there was a generator car, providing self-sufficient electrical power, a stores and mess car for logistics and crew welfare, an office car for administration, and the operational heart, the control apparatus car. The train's single purpose was to work as a self-contained, hard-to-destroy district council office, ready to be sent out. Conversion from passenger carriage to a command centre was thorough. Passenger facings were stripped, and the 240-volt mains lighting, heating, chemical toilets, and functional desks were installed. The generator car contained 2 diesel engines, a critical component that also highlighted the central flaw. The train's ability to run on its own power was entirely dependent on its last tank of fuel. The apparatus car was a communications hub, equipped with GPO standard teleprinters and telephone patch panels. The trains were not designed to be constantly on the move. Rather, the train would be moved to a pre-prepared site, such as a rural siding or a protected tunnel. At this location, the apparatus car would be physically patched into the GPO's national telephone network via a hardened communication point. From there, it would function as a secure node as part of the government's communications network. While the requirement for the 12 trains was mandated centrally, the implementation was delegated. Each region was free to source its own rolling stock from its often old, pre-nationalised fleet of coaching stock. This resulted in a highly mixed fleet, a rolling archive of the old Big Four railway companies. The eastern and northeastern regions, formed of the old LNER territory, converted Gresley teak coaches. They smartly selected tourist fared opens, long open saloons that were simple to strip and refit as office space. The western region followed an equally smart option. Converting Great Western Railway restaurant cars, these vehicles already possessed robust electrical systems, water tanks and kitchen areas, making them ideal for conversion into mess and support cars. The southern region selected one cell restricted zero rolling stock. Fancy. These Hastings gauge coaches were uniquely narrow. Especially built for the Tunbridge to Hastings line and their troublesome tunnels, they could travel anywhere in the network if needed. The trains were not staffed by a dedicated full-time crew. The personnel were often regular British Railways civil engineers, inspectors and controllers who in a national emergency would leave their day jobs, report to their hidden stabling point and deploy. Training, though lacking funds, was combined with the military. Archived files reveal that British Railway staff were sent to the army camp at Longmoor. While there, they were trained on how to repair track and bridges in emergency wartime conditions. Skip forward nearly 20 years, with the Cold War, while definitely not over, had cooled to such an extent that the Ministry of Transport decided the trains were now surplus to requirements. As such, they gave British Rail a withdrawal order, allowing them to use the stock for anything required. Part of the reason for this withdrawal was the trains being old and outdated. By 1980, the 1960s era non-digital technology was hopelessly outdated. Along with the 1920s era rolling stock, the chance there being useful in any emergency was long gone. One of the enemies of carriage preservation is decades of intense passenger service, followed by decades of decay in open-air sidings. The mobile emergency control trains, for the most part, avoided this fate. While some went straight into preservation, many carried on in British Rail service, often being used in departmental and training roles. One example is Monsell Brake, third number 3687, which had been converted into a control office and hidden at Tunbridge Wells West shed for 20 years. After being withdrawn, it was moved to Stewart's Lane Depot and used as an instructor coach for the London Fire Brigade. The coach finally entered preservation on the Bluebell Railway in 1982. Many of the coaches for control trains thankfully reached preservation and have been lovingly restored into their original 1920s condition. Most recently, one of the Gresley teak coaches, number 189, has been revealed in a nearly restored condition. It's a strange thought. These coaches, now lovingly restored and carrying families on a sunny Sunday, once held a big secret. A tiny, almost forgotten footnote of the Cold War, hiding in plain sight on a heritage railway. If this is the kind of obscure railway history you enjoy, then consider subscribing and pressing the notification bell. We'll have more videos like this coming soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.